Radujemo se da je stigao. Na našem Jonatan, inače Jonatan, on je sin, koliko sam razumeo, i misionara. Roditelji njegovi su bili u misiji i on je i sam dobrovoljni evanđelista i propovednik evanđelja i uživa u tom poslu. Mi smo čuli da je i u Africi, u Keniji, je li tako, propovedao posle one evangelizacije što nam je Seneta govorila kada se krstilo 65 osoba i radujemo se i mi u njegovoj radosti i u radosti neba. Pa evo, ovo vreme ćemo provesti zajedno, on će nam nešto reći i o svom ličnom iskustvu i verujem da će sve to biti blagosloveno za nas. Tako ćemo, dok provodimo ovdje vreme zajedno, ući i u subotu i onda ćemo na kraju početi i subotu i to će biti program za večeras, osim ostalog što će biti još na dnevnom redu. Dakle, do 8:10 može da teče, tako? Ako bude i ako bude potrebno i 8:15. A Seneta će prevoditi.
I svi vi sa mnom.
So I guess it's my turn now. Dobar večer, is that right? I'll tell you, I have a little secret into knowing a little bit about this language. I spent in 2006 and 2007 my first 2 preaching years in Bulgaria. So when I was talking to my new friend David today as we were moving around together, he brought me up and gave me some insight, so I tried it in secret. I am happy to be here with you. It is a privilege and an honor to spend Sabbath with you, to spend these few days we're going to do that. I'm grateful that you all took this evening and came here and spent the time together. You know, Dennis and Aseneta and I didn't know each other at first when we were in Kenya. I was preaching a series at the prison, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. And the pastor rings me on the telephone and says, the driver is here, let's go to our meeting site. Let's go to the prison. And so I walk out and I see these 2 people in the car that I don't recognize. And I thought, well, maybe, you know, in Africa it's not uncommon to take many people with you when you're going someplace. But the pastor didn't tell me that I had visitors going along. So we turned around and I think we started talking. And it's brought us to this moment. So thank you, Seneta and Dennis, for your hospitality, for this time to be with you all. Appreciate that. Happy Sabbath to you all. Is it Sabbath? It's soon to be. Yeah. I want to bring you greetings from our brothers and sisters in 3 different places. First in the Philippines. I was in Philippines 3 Sabbaths or 4 Sabbaths ago. And they said to me, the next time you go, the next place you will be, and that was, you are the second ones, but they said, send greetings from the Philippines. So I bring you greetings. Now, last Sunday, you're welcome. I also bring you greetings from our brethren and sisters in the UK. You were in the UK, all right. I was in East London last East London last weekend and the previous week preaching as well.
Prošli vikend I pretprošli je bio u Londonu.
But the third place I need to bring you greetings from is from Romania.
A treće mjesto je Rumunija.
I have spent much time in Romania. I've worked with a lot of Romanians in mission.
Radio sam sa puno Rumunjana u misiji.
I have learned to speak Romanian. I almost can pray in Romanian.
Može se čak moliti.
But that's a long story. We won't get into that tonight.
To je duga priča.
Sometime we'll talk about it. I want to pray with you, and then we'll go to a little bit of why I do what I do.
Pomolit ćemo se pa ćemo onda reći zašto radimo ovo što radimo.
You will pray. Father in heaven, it's a privilege and an honor to call upon you on this Sabbath and in this moment. I ask that Jesus will be front and center, that what is said and done here tonight will be to your glory and honor. Thank you for each one who has come. Bless us now in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I have my notes. I had them somewhere here. All right, I want to share with you a story from the Bible. And then I will tell you what I do and why I do it.
Hoću da podijelim s vama jednu priču iz Biblije, onda ću vam reći šta radim i zašto to radim.
It's a story that we know well, some of us perhaps.
To je priča koja nam je svima poznata, nadam se.
It's a story that doesn't get a lot of, oh, good job, good for you.
To je jedna priča koja ne dobija puno podrške i pozdrava.
If you have your Bibles, you might look at the book of Jonah for a few moments.
Ako imate Bibliju, možete otvoriti u Jonu.
When you think of heroes in the Bible, of people who have succeeded,
kada razmišljate o herojima u Bibliji, o ljudima koji su uspjeli,
the first name that comes to mind probably isn't Jonah.
Prvo ime koje vam dođe na pamet sigurno nije, pretpostavljam da nije ono.
We talk about prophets like Daniel or Elijah.
Spominje se prorok Danilo ili Elisija.
We talk about Samuel. And we talk about, some of the greats.
Samuel i veliki proroci.
But the Bible tells us the story of a man who became a prophet, but he wasn't so great in the beginning.
Ali Biblija nam govori o proroku koji je postao prorok, ali nije bio toliko velik na početku.
What is easier to do for you, to read it or me to read it? What is...
Što je lakše, da ja pročitam ili da on čita ili oba dva?
Just okay. Let's look at.
Posle Amosa.
Posle Danilo, Osija, Amos, Jojmo, Amos. On je posle Amosa. Evo ja ću čitati. A se ne da. Evo ja mogu čitati ako da tekst.
The first verse 1 through 5, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 through 5.
First chapter.
First chapter, yeah.
Okay. 1 to 5.
Yeah, 1 through 6. That's 1 through 6.
Dođe reč Gospodnja Joni, sinu Amatijevu, govoreći, ustani, idi u Nineviju, grad veliki, i propovedaj protiv njega, jer izađe zloća njihova predana. A Jona usta da beži u Tarsis od Gospoda i sišao u Jopu, nađe lađ, koja iđaše u Tarsis i plati vozarinu, uđe u nju, da otide s njima u Tarsis od Gospoda. Ali Gospod podiže velik vetar na moru i posta velika bura na moru, da mišljahu da će se razbiti lađa. I lađari, uplašivši se, prizivahu svaki svojega Boga i bacahu što beše u lađi u more, da bi bila lakša, a Jona beše sišao na dno lađi i lega spavaše tvrdo. A upravitelj od lađe pristupi k njemu i reče mu, šta ti spavaš? Ustani, prizivaj Boga svojega, ne bi li nas se opomenuo Bog da ne poginemo.
Now the Bible tells us the rest of the story, and if you have studied and heard this story before,
Biblija nam kaže kraj te priče, ako ste možda već čuli.
You know that Jonah stepped up and did the right thing. He said, I'm the responsibility, I'm the one at fault here.
Znamo da je Jona došao i preuzeo odgovornost na sebe i rekao da je on.
And as the story tells us, they threw him into the sea and the big whale came and swallowed him and
kao što nam kaže priča, obacili su ga u more i došla je riba i pojela ga je.
Of course, after 3 days, it spit him up onto the land, and he's there to do the message, do the thing that he was sent to do.
Posle 3 dana je bio izbačen iz ribe i onda je završio posao za koji je bio poslat da uradi.
Jonah preached the message to Nineveh, chapter 3 tells us.
Govorio u 3. glavi u Ninevi.
And the people repented, and they turned from their evil ways.
Ljudi su se pokajali i vratili su se sa zlom.
Then Jonah got a little upset with God.
I onda je Jona bio ljut na Boga.
Well, God forgave him, and God, the Bible tells us God used Jonah in a mighty way.
Bog mu je oprostio i Biblija nam kaže da je iskoristio Jonu na silan način.
Okay, so what does Jonah have to do with me as a preacher and evangelist?
Kakve veze ima Jona sa mnom kao evanđelist?
Okay, I'll tell you.
Reći ću vam.
In a very short amount of time, who's got a watch that you can keep time for? Is that one right? Yeah, that says 7:30, right? Okay, at 8 o'clock, I'm going to...
Or 8:10.
Let's say 8 to be good, because you guys want to hear me again, so... Let's say 8 o'clock, all right. I was born in Sri Lanka, a little country to the south of India.
Rođen sam u Sri Lanki, mala država južno od Indije.
It's not very different as far as the Indian or Sri Lankan. Some are not as tall as I am.
Da, u Sri Lanki ljudi nisu tako visoki kao ja.
We're all the same color, almost.
Svi smo skoro iste boje.
Some probably have more hair. But some are not as tall. I have my height to my advantage. All right. Adopted at a very young age.
Bio sam usvojen dok sam bio još mlad.
I was about 10 months old when I was adopted.
Stvari 10 mjeseci, kao beba je bio usvojen.
My parents are American. They were missionaries and they had been called to mission service.
Moji roditelji su misionari, Amerikanci i bili su pozvani da rade u misiji.
My first memories of life with my new parents was in the country of Belgium.
Moje prvo sećanje na moje roditelje je bilo u Belgiji.
We lived down the road from a place that made the Belgian waffles. Very lovely food. Not good for you, but very lovely.
Živjeli su u ulici, znači gdje se prave...
I'll remember that smell until I pass away. All right.
Znači, dok me poznala, seća se tog
The next
mirisa.
memories I have was Africa.
Sljedeće sećanje je Afrika.
I love Africa. If you look here, you will see Africa is imprinted there.
Ako pogledate tu vidjet ćete Afriku.
I spent my early years of life growing up in Africa.
Moje rane godine sam proveo u Africi.
I love the place, I love the people.
Volim to mesto, volim
I speak fairly good Swahili and I've learned some of the other languages from the different countries.
Pričam Swahili i naučio sam još i druge jezike.
I grew up as a missionary child.
Odrastao sam kao misionarsko dete.
I don't have time to tell you all the experiences, but many interesting experiences as a missionary, serving God.
Nemam puno vremena, ali jako puno predivnih iskustava.
1990.
1990.
My parents had to return from Africa to the US. They were working for the General Conference at the time.
Moji roditelji su se vratili u Ameriku, oni su radili za generalnu konferenciju tada.
I can tell you I didn't want to leave. That was home for me.
Nisam htjela da odem, to je bila za mene kuća.
But my father had become ill and we had to return. He wasn't able to continue working.
Ali moj otac je bio bolestan i morali smo se vratiti.
So we're back into a culture that I'm not used to. I'm not familiar with at all.
I vraćamo se u kulturu koja meni uopšte nije poznata.
Western countries, America especially. Some of you have been there.
Zapadna država, Amerika posebno, možda ste neki...
They are a long way from a little mission compound in the middle of Eastern Africa.
Mnogo drugačije od jedne male misije u Africi.
So I came back home and I thought people were going to be nice to me and going to act this way and they didn't.
Ja sam došla i mislila sam da će ljudi biti fini ali to se nije desilo.
But I adjusted after a while, somewhat adjusted.
Nekako sam se prilagodio posle nekog vremena.
Went to high school, or you call it high school? Okay, high school and some university studies.
Išao sam u srednju školu i na fakultet.
But I wasn't happy.
Ali nisam bio sretan.
I worked in a hospital.
Radio sam u bolnici.
My mind had told me that one day I'm going to come back to Africa and be a doctor and serve God in the mission field. This was my plan.
Da, bio mi je plan da se vratim u Afriku i da ću opet služiti u Africi.
So I'm working in a hospital and I'm seeing what the doctors do.
I evo, i radim stvarno u bolnici, vidim šta rade.
Going to school and, you know, I'm not really sure if I really want to do that.
Išla sam u školu i nisam bio siguran da hoću da budem doktor.
But I looked at all the options and I thought, well, this is the best fit for me.
Gledao sam sve druge opcije i mislio sam to je najbolje.
It's not really, I don't know if I'm really committed to it.
Ali ne znam baš da li sam toliko posvećen tome.
And let me tell you, some of you who are younger or who are going to be in university, maybe some of you are already there.
I možda neki od vas ste već na fakultetu ili ćete uskoro ići.
You have to love what you're going to do.
Morate voleti ono što radite.
Because you're going to do it for the rest of your life.
Ćete to raditi za vaš ceo život.
So, first and foremost, be committed to it for you.
Znači, prvo budite posvećeni za vas.
Not for someone else.
Za sami sebe, a ne za nekog drugog.
I wanted to be a doctor, probably not for me, but because it was my family and I thought this idea, it wasn't really mine.
Hteo sam da budem doktor zato što je to bilo predlog iz moje familije, ali to nije bila moja ideja.
But I wasn't happy in what I was doing.
Nisam bio sretan s tim što sam radio.
I was raised in a Christian home, an Adventist home.
Bio sam, znači odrastao sam u adventističkom domu.
I was baptized at an appropriate age.
Bio sam kršten u dovoljno vrijeme.
After high school, when I'm in the world of work and I'm working in a place that I'm not working with fellow Christians, things start to change for me.
Posle srednje škole sam počela da radim i da radim sa ljudima koji nisu bili hrišćani.
I thought people were all nice that you worked with because I had grown up around Christians.
Mislio sam da su svi fini.
When I get to work, I realized people aren't always nice to you out there in the world.
Ovdje sam vidio da nisu svi baš tako.
Well, I drifted away from church. I drifted away from being a good Adventist young man that I had been raised to do.
Polako sam skliznuo od onoga kako sam bio odrastao.
I'm not proud of that at all.
Ne ponosim se s tim uopšte.
I will live, I regret every moment that I strayed away and partied and smoked and tried to do drugs and all this stuff. And drank, it was rubbish, it's foolish. Don't let anyone tell you that it's all right. So you can look at someone.
Znači, sve od droge toga svega jeste. Znači, to ne ponosi se s tim.
Sve ovisnosti.
I znači, žali svaki trenutak, hvala Miljana. I to, znači, ne preporučujem nikog.
For anyone that you might encounter that says, yeah, go ahead and do it, it's popular, it's right, it's not true.
Kogod vam to kaže da je to popularno, da je to ispravno, ne, to nije ispravno.
By the grace of God.
Milosti Božoj.
And by the love of my parents and the prayers of my family and some very close friends.
Ljubav od mojih roditelja i bliskih prijatelja.
My mind started to change and I got away from this rubbish way of living.
Uspeo da se vratim i znači da se vratim iz takvog života.
So now I don't have any friends.
Sad nemam više prijatelja.
I don't have any, I'm not popular, I wasn't popular to begin with.
Nisam bio popularan.
And I wasn't, doing everything that everyone else was doing. What do I do?
I nisam radio sve ono što su svi radili, pa šta sad da radim?
So all right, well, I'll get back to studying my Bible, and I tried to do that. It took some time.
Ponovo čitam Bibliju.
Sometimes this book, this Bible, to some people is overwhelming. It's a bunch of words. It's a bunch of stories about people that they don't know about.
Nekim ljudima je ovo knjiga zbog puno reči, puno ljudi koje ne znaju i ne razumeju.
But when you make the time
ali kada sebi napravite vreme
to spend with Jesus every day,
da provedete sa Isusom svakog dana,
and you start your day with Him,
i počnete svoj dan s njim,
you're going to find that your day and your week, everything going to go a lot better for you when you make that time.
Vidjet ćete da će vaša sedmica i vaš dan početi bolje da ide.
So I had my Bible, I had me and some close friends who were all together and trying to wonder what's going on in life.
Imao sam mene i Bibliju i neke bliske prijatelje i pokušao sam da vidim šta će se desiti u mom životu.
All right, question for all of you.
Pitanje za sve vas.
You ever wonder if you're doing this thing that you're really meant to do this?
Da li se nekad pitate da li radite ono što zaista trebate da radite?
You ever have that feeling?
Imate nekad taj osjećaj?
You guys are looking at me like he's crazy. We never have that feeling.
Gledate me kao da mislite da sam lud.
I had that feeling. What am I doing in life? What am I supposed to do?
Ja sam imao to pitanje. Šta radim? Što bi trebao da radim?
My parents said, why don't you do this and you study and you can why don't you just do your studies and see where that takes you.
Moji roditelji su mi rekli da studiram i da vidim gdje će to da me dovede.
So I did. I started out.
To sam radio, to sam i počeo.
I moved away from home. That was fine.
Otišao sam od kuće, to je bilo okej.
That's okay. I love my parents. Really. And today I'm very close to them.
I danas sam jako blizak s njima.
Godly parents are a blessing. They really are.
Pobožni roditelji su blagoslov, zaista.
If you haven't told your parents you love them, do that. Don't waste time not telling them.
Ako niste rekli vašim roditeljima, ili niste bliski, recite im da ih volite, što je važno.
I'm out working, I have a job, I'm in a different place, I'm doing stuff totally different, but I'm not satisfied, I'm not happy in what I'm doing.
Znači, preselio sam se, studiram i sve radim, međutim nisam sretan.
We get sometimes, life is busy, isn't it?
Život je zauzet, ne?
We go to school, we have exams that we have coming up.
Idemo u školu, imamo testove.
We have deadlines at work.
Imamo termine na poslu.
And some of you tonight are thinking I could be sleeping right now.
Možda neko misli sad mogu da spavam.
I'm glad you're here.
Drago mi je da ste ovdje.
But we get busy in life.
Ali da, nekad nam je naporno.
I was doing all this stuff and I was miserable. I wasn't happy.
Ja sam sve to radio i opet nisam bio sretan.
And the worst part about it is I didn't spend a lot of time with God.
I što je najgore, nisam odvojio puno vremena sa Bogom.
At the moment, God was an ATM machine for me.
Za mene je tada Bog bio bankomat.
I'd plug into Him and say, God, please help me with this exam I'm coming up with.
Uključim i onda kaže, pomozi mi sad za test.
Please go with me as I'm driving on the road to work. Thank you for this food. Very quick moments. God was on the back shelf. He wasn't front and center. And I have to work even now, every day, to make Him the first. So my father, in his wisdom, says, why don't you go with me on a mission trip? Now, I hadn't been to Africa since 1990. This is 2004. This is some few years later. My dad says, come on, it will be good for you. Your parents, you love them to death. But when they tell you some stuff, you're like, come on, what does he know? Okay, I'm not the only one who's ever felt that. All right. Okay. Well, I said, okay, well, maybe. And anyway, it was sorted out and I went. Now you know, if well, actually, they don't know. When I got to Africa, when the plane touched down, it was the first feeling of that I had had in a long time. So I was there with my dad, and I was doing. My father is not a pastor; he was an engineer. He's a teacher as well. But we went on a mission trip to do evangelism and to do health, and it's a 3-week program.
evangelizaciju i program o zdravlju, 3 sedmice.
It's a program designed so that lay persons, like most of us here, with respect to the pastor, can go and preach a series of meetings.
To je program gde obični, znači vernici mogu, kao što ste vi i svi ovdje, osim pastora, koji možete da obavljate misiju.
It was set up by Pastor Falkenberg. Some of you might know about Share Him. It's an organization, or Global Evangelism.
To je bilo, znači, organizovano od pastora Falkenberga i program se zove Share Him.
Share Him. It's what it is today. And I was going to go to only do the health talks.
Ja sam u stvari išao samo da govorim o zdravlju.
I don't preach, I said.
Ja neću da propovedam.
It's not for me, I'm not qualified, the pastor preaches, not me.
To nije za mene, nisam kvalifikovana, ne ja.
Now, I'm the type of person back then.
Ja sam osoba koja tada.
You couldn't get me in the front to give the morning prayer.
Nije mogla ni da izađe napred da se pomoli za
You couldn't get me to even call for an offering.
Niste me mogli zvati ni za dar da pokupim.
I didn't want to be up front.
Nisam hteo da budem napred.
Because every time I stood in the pulpit, you know what people said?
Kad sam god došao napred da stojim na katedri.
You have a good voice.
Rekli su dobar glas.
You should do radio. Do you do radio?
Radim.
If I charged €100 for every time I heard that. So, I didn't think I could serve God as the preacher.
Nisam mislio da mogu da služim Bogu kao pastor.
I was studying, I was doing everything I thought was the right way.
Znači, učio sam, radio sam sve što sam mislio da je ispravno.
I mean, the Bible is full of a promise, and some of us know it well, and I'm sure you know this promise. It's in Jeremiah 29:11. Most of us have heard this wonderful promise.
Biblija je puna obećanja i siguran sam da znate i ovo obećanje u Jeremiji 21. glavi. 11. stih. Jer ja znam misli koje mislim za vas, govori Gospod, misli dobre, ne zle, da vam dam posljedak kakav čekate.
I mean, God's promises to us is to give us future and hope.
Božje obećanje za nas je da nam daje budućnost i nadu.
There's nothing wrong, I believe, with having plans, looking for that future person, having the career that you have. That's nothing wrong with that.
Nije ništa pogrešno u tome što mi imamo planove i želje koje želimo da postignemo, ciljeve.
By God's grace, I hope every one of you is able to see that plan come to happen. Whatever it is that you're doing right now.
Milošću, nadam se da će se to ispuniti u vašem životu.
But the plan that God had for me wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Ali plan koji je Bog imao za mene nije bilo ono što sam ja mislila.
I wasn't happy there in this work and going to school, but I was more happy in the mission.
Nisam bio sretan na poslu koji sam radio, ali više sam bio sretan u misiji.
But I didn't want to preach, I just wanted to do the support role, to be behind the scenes.
Nisam htio da propovedam, samo sam volao da budem iza pozornice.
Well, it came to pass
I znači desilo se
that the young man who said he couldn't preach
da onaj koji je rekao da ne može da propoveda
is now a preacher
je sada propovedao.
and an evangelist.
Jedan evangelista.
Why am I an evangelist?
Zašto sam evangelista?
I'm running out of time. I see the clock running.
Vidim da prolazi.
Take your time.
Thank you. I believe Jesus is coming very soon.
Ja verujem da će Isus jako brzo doći.
Is there anything wrong with having plans? No, not at all.
Je li ima nešto pogrešno u tome da imamo planove?
Did I fight this program? Absolutely. Did I not want to preach at first? You're right. I did not want to preach.
Da li sam se borio protiv toga da ne propovedam? Jesam.
After my first series of meetings, after the first time I went with my dad, that 2004,
Posle tog prvog puta 2004. godine
I went back the next year
sam otišao i sljedeće godine.
because I knew that's what I needed to do.
Znao sam to je ono što je treba da uradim.
And the people who I was with kept saying, you know, you should preach.
I ljudi s kojima sam bio su mi rekli trebao bi da govoriš.
You will be a good preacher.
Ti bi bio dobar govornik.
They never forced me, but they were encouraging.
Nisu me silili, nisu me terali, ali su me hrabrili.
I have a good friend, he is a mentor of mine, he is a pastor, he is an evangelist as well.
Imam jednog dobrog prijatelja koji je mentor, pastor i isto evangelista.
He never told me, Jonathan, go and preach for us.
Nikada mi nije rekao, idi propovedaj.
He said, you'd be a good preacher. If you want to go with me sometime, let me know.
Rekao, ti bi bio dobar govornik ako želiš, dođi sa mnom.
So that went into the back of my head.
To je što se registrovalo.
I thought about that. You know, sometimes when you encounter someone or you have an experience in your life,
nekada kad upoznate nekoga ili imate neko iskustvo,
God might use that
Bog može to da iskoristi,
to change your life.
Da promeni vaš život.
I don't know what experience that's going to be for you.
Ne znam šta će to biti u vašem životu.
But when Pastor Dobias told me this,
ali kada mi je pastor Dobias to rekao,
I was resistant at first. I said, no way, God can't use me.
Se protivio, rekao sam, nema šanse, Bog me ne može iskoristiti.
You know, in this culture, unless you have the training, unless you have all of the information, many people don't want you to preach.
U ovoj kulturi je tako da ako nemaš sve kvalifikacije, to puno njih ne želi da ti nešto govoriš.
I am not a qualified pastor.
Nisam kvalifikovan pastor.
I'm a lay evangelist.
Ja sam evangelist.
God has given me the experience.
Laik evangelista.
God has given me the experience and the opportunity to learn by doing.
Bog mi je dao, znači, iskustva da mogu da naučim dok radim.
I'm not perfect.
Nisam završen.
I'm still working. God is still working on me.
Bog još uvek radi na meni.
But at first, I didn't think I could preach.
Ali prvo nisam uopšte mislio da mogu da govorim.
I did exactly what Jonah. We talked about Jonah. He had a message. God told him to take it, and he didn't want to do it.
Radio sam isto kao i Leonard. On je imao poruku koju treba da predaje i nije želeo da kaže.
God had something for me to do, to use my voice to preach the gospel, to share with others who Jesus is.
Bog je imao poruku za mene da delim sa drugima ko je Isus.
But I didn't want to do it at first.
To nisam želeo da uradim.
There's a text in Isaiah, chapter 41, verse 10.
U Isaiji 41. glavi, 10. stih, jel može neko da pročita?
One of the, yeah. That 41 verse 10. Yeah.
41.10. Može neko.
Ne boj se jer sam ja s tobom, ne plaši se jer sam ja Bog tvoj. Ukrijepit ću te i pomoći ću ti i poduprijet ću te desnicom pravdu svoju.
What does the text says to me? And it says, it's been the thing that has happened. God has been with me all of my steps in my journey for Him.
To je stih gdje piše da je Bog bio sa mnom kroz ceo moj put.
You know, I wasn't very sure if I could keep doing what this work God has called me to do.
Nisam bio siguran da li mogu da nastavim posao za koji sam poslan.
Is it easy all the time? No, it's not.
Da li je uvek lagano? Ne, nije.
What I do, and I want to tell you this with all sincerity, but I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for me or something.
Ono što ću vam reći, to vam neću reći zato da me sažaljevate.
I do this ministry by God's provision and His provision alone.
Ja ovo što radim samo uz Božju pomoć.
6 years I've been involved in evangelism.
6 godina sam već uključen u evangelizam.
I have gone to every place but 2 continents of this world preaching.
Išao sam već bio sam na svim mjestima osim 2 kontinenta.
Is that normal? I haven't been to South America and to Antarctica.
Antarctica?
I'm not really, yeah.
Okay,
maybe one day.
Okay, znači mi bio na Antarktici i Južnoj Americi.
I'm a volunteer, I'm a missionary.
Znači ja sam volonter i misionar.
Some people call me a modern day Paul.
Neko me zove moderni Pavle.
God provides for me, and
Bog se brine za mene.
while it's not always, I do not always know where or how He's going to provide.
Ja ne znam kako će on da se pobrine za mene.
In this work that I have done for 6 years now, this ministry that I've been involved with,
Znači u ovoj službi u kojoj sam bio uključen već 6 godina.
I'm more satisfied and happier than I've ever been in all of my life working, doing anything else.
Zadovoljniji sam i ispunjeniji nego bilo što sam prije radio.
Is it easy? No, it's not.
Da li je lako? Ne, nije.
You get a lot of resistance, absolutely.
Dobijete puno
otpora.
A lot of people think that I'm not qualified, I shouldn't be preaching.
Puno njih misli da nisam kvalifikovan.
You didn't study theology. You didn't go to the schools of the prophets.
Nisi išao studirati teologiju.
How can you tell me more about Jesus than I already know?
Što mi ti možeš više reći nego što ja znam?
Okay, I can see their logic.
Vidim njihovu, razumijem njihovu logiku.
But you know, every one of us is more than qualified to share Jesus with somebody.
Znate da je svako od nas više nego kvalifikovan da
Why is that?
Zašto?
Because if you have had your life touched in some way by God, and I'm sure every one of us has had that experience.
Zato što ako je neko od vas doživeo da ga je Bog dodirnuo, a sigurno sam svi smo doživjeli,
then that qualifies you to tell someone else who Jesus is. I love the work God has given me to do, even though I don't get paid for it. It's taken me almost all the way around the world. I get to visit new and wonderful places and new people. It's not because I'm better than the next person. It's not because I know any more than the next person. It's because God has given me this opportunity to serve Him. What makes you different than me? Nothing at all. I simply said, God, here I am. If you want to use me, then you fill it in and you take me and you do what you want to do through me for Him.
Ako želiš da me iskoristiš, iskoristi me i uradi ono što želiš kroz mene.
That's a frightening thing to say in 2012.
To je zastrašujuća stvar da se kaže u 2012. godini.
I say that because people look at me, you're crazy to do the things you do and you don't get paid for it.
Kaže, ja to kažem zato što ljudi kaže ti si luda, radiš tako nešto i da te uopšte ne
What about your family or what about your, you know, all of these different questions come to mind.
Šta će biti s svojom familijom i sve ostalo?
Well, I hope to have a family one day, wife at least.
Ja se nadam da ću imati familiju, barem ženu.
But if I don't,
ali ako nema,
and I don't know if that's going to be God's plan,
ne znam da će to biti Božji plan,
yet I'm able to share with someone,
mogu da podelim s nekim,
whoever it is, in the place that I know or outside that,
u mestu gde sam ja ili izvan,
who Jesus is,
da, ko je Isus, mogu da
and how He can change your life,
pokažem ko je Isus i kako može promeniti
then
život.
I have done my part.
Onda sam u stvari uradio moj deo.
We were in Kenya together, Neta and Dennis. They came in the last couple of days.
Oni su došli zadnjih nekoliko dana.
But that week that I spent in that prison in Kenya,
tu sedmicu kad sam bio u zatvoru u Keniji,
incredible the way God worked in that place.
Neverovatno kako je Bog radio na tom mestu.
Me and Pastor Robert and some others were there. We're just, you know, we're saying, God, help us. We need your help.
Mi smo samo tamo, ja i pastor Robert, i rekli smo, Bože, trebamo te pomoći nam.
We'll talk about it more tomorrow, but 65 prisoners, 65, were going to be in the kingdom one day.
Sutra ćemo pričati više, ali 65 zatvorenika će biti u carstvu.
Because of what God did there.
Zbog toga što je Bog uradio tamo.
When I see someone baptized,
kada ja vidim nekog
and I see someone come to know who Jesus is,
i da upoznaje ko je Isus,
that's good news.
To je dobra vest.
Love it.
Volim to.
Nothing better.
Nema ništa bolje.
Now, it doesn't mean that your career or the idea, the plans you have,
to ne znači da vaša karijera i planovi koje vi
are not
imate
important in God's eyes. They are.
nisu važne, oni jesu jako važne.
But our purpose in life on this planet,
ali naša svrha
in the days that, in the last days that we're living, because we are living in the last days,
u zadnje vrijeme u kojem živimo sada,
is to, you know, to share with someone, share just maybe one or two people, or at least let someone know who Christ is.
I da pričate, da podelite s nekim, da kažete ko je Isus.
That's the Great Commission.
To je naš poziv.
You know, what did Jesus say before he went to heaven?
Šta je Isus rekao pre nego što je išao?
Go and make disciples. Go and teach them, share with them.
Učite i delite s njima.
And that's the commission that each one of us has.
To je poziv koji svi, ulogu koji svi imamo.
Tomorrow evening and tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon we're going to talk about how you can be involved.
Sutra i ujutro prepodne ćemo pričati kako vi popodne kako vi možete biti uključeni.
You can do something for God.
Kako možete uraditi nešto za Boga.
It's not always an ideal situation to be in serving Jesus.
Nije uvek idealna situacija služiti Isusu.
But the text, you know, that we read just a moment ago in Isaiah says that God is with us every step of the way.
Ali tekst koji smo čitali u Isaiji kaže da je on s nama
I'll share with you a text as we close.
I na kraju ću još jedan stih podeliti s vama.
It is in 1 Corinthians chapter 1. Two texts actually. 1 Corinthians chapter 1.
Prva glava.
Verse 18.
18.
And then 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 2.
I onda druga glava chapter 2. Znači prvo 1:18. Ima neko?
Chapter 1, verse 18.
1:18.
And then chapter 2.
Jer je riječ križeva ludost onima koji binu, a nama je koji se spasavamo sila Božja.
I druga glava, drugi stih.
Chapter 2, verse 2. Verse 2.
Jer nisam mislio da znam što među vama osim Isusa Krista i toga raspada.
I want to know who Jesus is and I want to share him with someone else.
Ja hoću da znam ko je Isus i hoću da podelim s nekim.
The work that I have as a preacher takes me everywhere and it's a thrill and an honor to stand as a mouthpiece for God.
Posao koji ja imam mi je čast za Boga.
It's not an easy work to do.
Nije lagan posao.
But in the last days as we are living in,
ali u posljednjem vremenu u kojem mi živimo,
God is working in a mighty way. He really is.
Bog radi na silan način zaista.
You know, in Kenya, the national media came and interviewed me and some others on the Sabbath when we closed the meeting.
U Keniji, znači, nacionalna televizija je došla u subotu, intervjuisali su me kada smo završili program.
What are you guys doing here?
I rekli su, šta vi radite ovdje?
We've never heard of a baptism, a meeting on a campus, a prison.
Nikad nismo čuli da može biti krštenje na kampusu zatvora.
It was a new thing for me. I had never been to a prison to preach.
Bilo je meni isto novo, nikad nisam išao u zatvor.
Most of the places I preach, people are coming and going, and I'm happy to see them go, and I shake their hands. But these guys, it was a different scenario.
Uglavnom, tamo gdje ja govorim, ljudi dolaze i odlaze.
But 65 people responded. These guys, you will meet in the kingdom one day if we are faithful.
Vi ćete ih sresti jednom u carstvu ako budemo verni.
But God is working in a big way.
Ali Bog radi na veliki način.
And people need to be reminded and know that there is hope.
I ljudi trebaju biti podsjetiti na to da ima nade.
So that's why I'm an evangelist.
Zato sam ja evangelist.
Because I want to see Jesus more than anything.
Ja želim da vidim Isusa više nego bilo šta.
But before he comes,
Ali prije nego što dođe,
I want to do my part.
Ja želim da uradim moj deo.
To make others to be ready for his return.
Da pripremim druge za njegov povratak.
Now, we're done. Basically on time. If they want to ask questions or something, I'm
Ako želite da me pitate pitanja,
otherwise, we
možete
can sing a song. Whatever you like.
pitati, možemo još otvorati pesmu. Jel ima neko nekih pitanja?
Evo ja imam jedno pitanje. Šta ga najviše raduje u njegovoj službi?
What makes you happy the most in your service?
Well, something God has given me to do as of late
Nešto što mi je Bog dao da radim u zadnje vrijeme
to become a coordinator of meetings. I will be taking a group this year. It's a group I've taken other places. They are going to be in the Philippines. We'll be there in the month of July, basically. They will be preaching, I'll be coordinating, but I love preaching. I love to...
Idem sa grupom u Filipine, ja ću koordinirati tu grupu, volim da govorim.
It's enjoyable to be a coordinator, but it's also a lot of work.
Volim da budem koordinatorom, puno posla.
But I can't preach and coordinate, that doesn't work. I love preaching, it's how I got my start, it's what I call myself. When someone asks, what do you do? I'm an evangelist, I'm a preacher, a speaker, however you want to describe it, but I still love to preach the gospel. Of course, you can't beat being able to go swimming before you go to preach when you're in the Philippines. But don't worry, I'm not swimming all the time. You can ask me anything. Don't be afraid. If you don't want to ask it now, you can tell someone and write it down. It's up to you.
Gdje mu je bilo najteže? Gdje mu je bilo, znači, na tim misionarskim putovanjima, znači, što znači, gdje mu je bilo najteže?
Where was it the most difficult? All the places you've been.
Yeah, you know, that's a good question. He asked the question, where was it most difficult, as you heard. Africa has been a challenge for me, maybe because it's where I grew up, maybe because I loved and known the culture, but it has become a challenge for me in recent years. I used to think it because I didn't have much here. Now I understand that it's because maybe I'm a little bit younger. If my father was to stand up and say something, they would snap to attention because he speaks from wisdom and experience. It doesn't mean that we cannot be, as young people, used by God. I mean, we've already discussed that, we've already found that out. But Africa has become one of my biggest challenges. I say that because, as Dennis and Asaneta found out, it's the misconception that anyone that comes from outside has a lot of money.
To je da njihova predrasuda da svi koji dođu iz inostranstva imaju novac.
And that has made those of us who come to preach and to share and to do evangelism, they don't want anything unless we're going to give something. They don't want to hear it unless they want to receive something.
To čini sve teže kad dođete da govorite, a oni neće dođu osim ako znaju da će nešto dobiti.
When you deal with human beings,
kada se radi sa ljudima,
it's a challenge.
To je izazov.
But God is still working.
Ali Bog i dalje radi.
Did you ever have any life-threatening situations on missionary trips, or yes?
I had a couple of fellows when I was in Ethiopia, 2007, my first full year of preaching. Walking down the street, dressed like this, I wasn't able to be casual. I had flown in the night before and my bags were left in New York. And I'm used to that. You know. I'm fortunate when I go to Africa, I can blend in some places. But these guys were really good. Walking down the street, talking with a colleague. The next thing I know, I'm falling forwards, and someone's doing like this, and someone's doing like that. And they were so fast at what they did. Now, you know, I'm smart enough to know that I shouldn't have been walking. It was daytime, can you imagine? I was with, this is going to sound bad, I was with a young lady, is that bad? But maybe I should have been paying attention and not talking to her. Anyway, that was a frightening experience. Because they could have cut me, they didn't. They took from me some documents that were not important, some old boarding passes and some papers. I've had places where we've had to have guards around because people are not happy that the messages are going on. They want to start a demonstration. Last year in Malawi, in a small country in Africa, there had been some political problems. 2 weeks before we came to the country, there was demonstration. 17 people were killed in these fightings. When we got to Malawi, the brethren, the pastor said, they are going to have a demonstration while you are here. We don't know what to do. Now, in my group, I had about 9 ladies and 3 or 4 gentlemen. Two of those ladies were very important to the Romanian Union. It was the wife of the president of the Romanian Union and the executive secretary. Both lovely ladies, both preachers, both evangelists. But here I'm told that there's going to be a big protest, and Malawi is a place that hasn't had problems. But God is bigger, and the protests were cancelled. Didn't have any problems outside of that. Have I had someone come up to hit me or anything like that? Not yet. You never know sometimes. One night I had an interesting experience, not life-threatening. I wasn't sure at first. I had just made an appeal. People came forward. And I'm about to go and pray, and this man comes up over the wall to the platform. He is drunk, as you can imagine. And he comes and pushes me out of the way and takes over, carries on. But, you know, I have people, and I think, and I ask you to do this as well, that pray for me. And prayer is powerful. There are angels that are around God's people that are keeping the things from happening. Does it mean it's always going to be like that? I don't know. But it's nothing by God's grace has happened dramatically.
Pošto imamo još 5 minuta, što znači da se boriš, da postaviš Boga na prvo mjesto svaki dan? Što znači da se bori svakog dana da postavi Boga na prvo mjesto, to je rekao na uvodu?
Yeah, what does it mean for you when you said at the beginning that you are struggling to put God in the first place every day?
Each day. Good point. Good question. Well, any relationship, let's talk relationship for a moment.
Što to znači za te?
Oh, it's not that. What does it mean for you practically?
Yeah, I'll answer that. Any relationship, if we think about it in the relationship sense, requires commitment. There's an effort involved. And I know how things will go for me if I don't spend the time for me. This is just how me and God are working on each other. He's working on me.
To je kako je sa mnom. Znači ja znam kako će biti moj dan ako ne provedem vrijeme.
How it is if I don't spend time studying for myself. My day will just things won't go right, just everything will just...
Ako to ne uradim, sve će nekako ići, neće biti kako treba.
If I spend the time with him, and I try to every day, make it a point.
Ako provedem vrijeme s njim, ja se trudim da to napravim.
It's a constant process for me to do this, because, you know, we're busy, we talk about it, life is busy, you know, I traveled so much, sometimes I'm tired, but I have to make the effort.
To je proces, ali nekada putujem, umoran sam, ali moram se potruditi.
Doesn't mean that I'm closer to God or, you know, that I'm any better than the next person, no.
Da to misli da znači da sam bolji od bilo koga drugoga, ne.
But in every relationship you need to invest the time and the commitment to spend the time with that person.
Ali u svakoj vezi moraš da provedeš vreme da budeš sa tom osobom.
If you talk about a husband and wife who've been married for 50 years, I'm guessing they have not spent more than 2 or 3 minutes away from each other.
Kaže, osobe koje su 50 godina u braku, pretpostavljam da nisu provele 2 ili 3 minute jedna bez druge.
Some people say, well, I don't know how to spend the time with God, or I can't talk to Him because I've got so much other stuff to do.
Pa ne znam, neki kažu, ne znam kako da pričam s Bogom, imam toliko drugih stvari koje treba da obavim.
Okay, well, you sat and watched a program, or you listened to a song, or you talked to your person online, or you sent an SMS, or you did some of these other things. You could have spent that time with God.
Ok, pogledajte neki program, pošaljete neke poruke, sedite pred internetom. Ok, znači mogu si to vreme iskoristiti.
I can't answer for other people. I know what I have to work on personally.
Ja ne mogu da za druge da odgovaram, ja znam šta ja mogu.
But every relationship, if it matters, if it's important,
svaka veza, ako je bitna, ako je važna,
you will make the commitment naturally.
Sami ćete se predati to vezi.
You know, John 15:14 says, Jesus says, if you love me, do what? Keep my commandments.
Isus kaže, ako me volite, držite moje zapovjedi.
Keeping the commandments makes an effort. If you love something, then the natural response is to spend time with that person.
Kad držimo zapovesti, znači to je prirodno da provedemo isto i vreme s njim.
But I get into the time where I'll be exhausted from travel and I won't be able to get up and things won't go so well, but I know I have to work on it daily.
Ali za mene, pošto sam umoran i nekada od puta i stvari ne idu tako kao što bi želeo, ali ipak moram da radim na tome svaki dan.
If you haven't had that chance to develop a relationship with God, start out slow at the beginning. Let's say 5 or 10 minutes, share with Him.
Ako niste to do sada radili, počnite polako, možda 5-10 minuta.
Set your alarm earlier than you normally would.
Navite sat malo ranije.
Or if it's not an early morning for you, set it at a time where you know that you and God can spend that important quality time together.
Ili ako to možda nije ujutro, možda u toku dana, odvoj neko vreme kada možeš biti s Bogom.
As they tell me, in a relationship, the girl likes it if you spend time with her.
Čuo sam da u vezi ženske osobe vole kada provedete vreme s njim.
Knows what I think and He knows what I'm going to ask Him, but He still wants to hear from me. He still wants that time for me to spend with Him.
Bog želi da budem s njim, ali još uvijek želi da ja to odvojim.
I'm sure a married couple, they don't have to tell each other, I love you dear, or you know, have a nice day, or let's spend some time together. But when you love the person, you make the commitment to do that. It's a natural
osobe ne moraju da kažu jedna drugo da ste vole, ali ipak žele da provede zajedno vreme.
But I'm speaking for me alone. I can't speak for anyone else. And every person is different. But it matters to me because Jesus matters to me.
Ja pričam zato što to je za mene, zato što mi Isus znači.